What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Now that all the Chinese regionals have concluded, we're taking a short break from competitive content here on the channel, and today I just want to share a deck profile with you guys for a deck that I've really been enjoying in my set 1 proxied testing. And today we're going over an MF deck, but it is not an MF Aurora build. It's actually the other competitive way you can build MF if you don't want to play an Aurora style. So if that's you, stay tuned. We'll get into it right now. Alright guys, let's get right into the deck profile, of course, with our Legend Misfortune. Like I mentioned in the intro, this is not going to be your average MF Aurora deck. This deck is actually going to be more of an aggressive MF build, and we want to look to take advantage of the ganking ability to move from battlefield to battlefield and score points very quickly. That's the whole purpose of this deck. You'll see more about it in the main deck. So let's go ahead and move this over here. We will start with our rune count. We are playing 6 purple runes, and we are playing 6 orange runes. Now, the reason I'm on an even split is because our curve between our early and late game plays are pretty even. So the 6 and 6 split has worked out really well. But a quick tip for you guys when it comes to building your rune deck competitively, whether you have an even split of, power cost in your main deck curve or not, you want to consider when your early drops are using a certain color versus when your late drops are using a certain color. Whether you're using early cards that have a lot of orange power cost, even if your main deck split of runes is even, let's say you have 10 cards in your deck that have orange cost and 10 cards in your deck that have purple cost, if all those orange cards are early drops like 2, 3, and 4 drops, and all those purple cards are 6 and 7 drops, you might want to consider bumping up the orange count and reducing the purple count because you need to see your orange runes earlier, even once again if the curve of your deck has an even split on runes. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll try to drop a competitive article for rune deck building soon on the Tacter. If you guys haven't seen my Tacter page, definitely check it out in the description. They're just free competitive articles there that are meant to help you guys up your game, which again are 100% free. So I implore you to check it out. Anyways, let's go into our main deck. We're playing the 1 MF Buccaneer. This is our one chosen champion, the only MF we're actually playing in the main deck. And we're playing this one because it's a much lower to the ground card. Lower to the ground meaning that it has a lower cost compared to the alternative MF that we could play, the 5-drop orange MF. And yeah, this one can go right into an open battlefield, so it kind of works with the theme of scoring points quickly and for low cost. So perfect card for a deck like this. That's why we're going with this chosen champion. Now for our battlefield selection, we are playing the Arena's Greatest as one of our battlefields. Once again, lends exactly to what our deck is trying to do. We want to be an aggressive MF deck. We want to get underneath those Aurora strategies and win the game before they really get online and drop multiple huge creatures from their Aurora strategies. And yeah, this works really, really well for that. Then let's go ahead and take a look at our next battlefield. We have Back Alley Bar. What seems like the only legend that can actually play this card being MF. This card says, when a unit moves from here, give it +1 might this turn. So with our leader's ability to give a unit ganking, when we move over to the other battlefield, the unit gets stronger as a result of that. And your opponent's units will get bigger when they retreat back to base, but most of your opponent's units won't have ganking, so they really just don't get much benefit out of this battlefield. It's almost like a very one-sided battlefield, which is another great thing about this deck, because you get to play 2 one-sided battlefields, the other one being Vile Maw's Lair. So this one says that units can't move from here to base. But again, because your legend can give your units ganking, you don't have to go from here to base if you want to get out of this battlefield. You can go from here to the other battlefield and get out that way, where again, your opponent's units probably not going to have the ability to gank for the most part. There's very few cards in the game that inherently have ganking. So your opponent's going to be stuck here, meaning you're going to have an easy time dealing with the units they have here. They're not going to be able to protect them by recalling them. So really, really good battlefield once again for this specific build. Now let's go into our main deck so you guys can try it out. We are playing 1 of each seal. So this deck is a little heavy on power costs. So I wanted to tech 1 of each seal because in the games that you draw either or both of them, you're going to feel really good about it because you're not going to be setting back your rune progression as much. And when you have more runes, you can make more plays, as obvious as that sounds. I didn't really want to play more of either rune because then you run the risk of drawing too many. And if your hand is just full of runes and no actual units or spells, you're not really going to be able to play the game very well. So the 1-on-1's working out well. It's kind of a high roll mentality where you just play 1 of each, and in the games you draw them, you have a little bit of a better time. You can still, of course, win games where you don't draw them, but they're just meant to make your life a little bit easier when you do get the chance to draw them. Then for the whole purpose of this deck and why this deck is able to exist, we're playing 3 copies of Ride the Wind. Now, if you've been here on the channel for a little bit, you've heard me talk a lot about Ride the Wind plus Vi. that is a combo that the Annie decks and the Jinx decks of the world have the ability to play, where they can play a Vi, get it up to a huge number of might, and then use Ride the Wind to send it into a battlefield, and then it's active, and it has its own ganking, so you can send it across the other battlefield. Now take this card and put it with a legend like MF, and your entire deck is almost full of Vi's. Obviously, sometimes you can't get to quite as high of a might count as Vi can, but this deck does have a way to do that. We'll see in just a little bit. But yeah, this is the main driving soul of the deck and why we want to be using the MF leader specifically, because once again, we can go into a battlefield active with Ride the Wind, and then we can use our legend to give that unit ganking, and now if it's big enough, it can clear both battlefields on its own, which is really, really good. All right, now for other spells, once again, if you're playing a competitive purple deck, you have to play 3-stack deck. It's just too good of a card, allowing you to sculpt your hand and, get the cards you need as soon as possible. The card's just too good not to play. And since we are playing MF, we are playing 3 copies of Bullet Time. This card is so versatile and so flexible. Like, defensively, if you need to, it's a 1-cost kill anything, as long as you have enough runes to sacrifice in order to get up to that might count, right? Like, you could be on your final push where you're holding one battlefield and your opponent has a ton of huge units ready to come in and fight you, and if you can just use this and recycle like 8 runes, you can kill pretty much anything in the game and then secure that hold and win the game. So the card's super flexible. There's another card this combos with later that we will take a look at in just a few minutes. And then we have 3 copies of Challenge, one of our less costly removal pieces in the deck, and we do have the ability to get very big units out on the board, so having the ability to challenge and then pop our opponent's smaller units. Also notably, this can kill things in base, which Bullet Time cannot, so that's very important as well. I do like the 3 Challenge for that reason. And for our final spells, we're playing 2 Rebuke, just because sometimes you need to answer big units that are giving you a problem. So setting it back to your opponent's hand is a huge boon for this deck. Really, really good. And then Sabotage. I'm a big fan of maining 2 to 3 Sabotage in almost all orange decks because, getting the hand knowledge is absolutely key, and there shouldn't be a matchup where this is not actually going to rip a card out of the opponent's hand if you use it at the opportune time. Obviously, if your opponent's sitting on like 2 cards in hand and they haven't had many impactful plays as of the past turn or two, they may not have a spell in hand. But if you use this in like a mid-game scenario where you just need to secure the fact that they won't have a removal for a unit or they won't have a key gear, like in the Aurora matchup, for example, when they're about to go into 9 runes, you cast this and then you can kind of ensure that they won't have that play unless they get lucky and top deck into it. And I would definitely recommend side decking the 3rd copy of this card. I don't really have a mock side deck for you guys in this video, but that's a card I would 100% say to side another copy of. Now we will get into our unit lineup. We are playing 3 copies of Traveling Merchant. Honestly, this is probably just my favorite 2-drop in the entire game. Being able to see new cards in your deck, being able to get dead cards out of your hand. It's just so good for that reason. Can't really beat it. I absolutely love this card. And then we're playing 3 copies of Tide Turner. So not only is it another 2-drop if you miss out on your Traveling Merchant turn 1, but also it can set up really cool plays where your opponent is not really going to expect what this is hidden. It could be this, it could be Paka Cub, it can be maybe 1 or 2 other things. I can't remember all the hidden cards on top of my head right now, but basically, like, let's say you have a middle-sized unit, like a 6 might or 5 might unit in a battlefield, and you hide the Tide Turner, and you have a big unit in your base or a big unit in your other battlefield, you can flip the Tide Turner to instantly almost like double the power of your battlefield, or really just set up sneaky plays your opponent's not going to be prepared for. So this can set up really cool things like that. You'll see more as you play this deck, the types of nutty combos this can set up. And yes, it can require some setup and some things to like go your way, but it allows you to open up the flow of gameplay in a way that you wouldn't normally be able to do otherwise, where you can start with huge units in battlefields because of this card giving you the ability to do so. So I definitely recommend playing this card, and at worst case, it's just another early 2-drop, which you don't want to miss out on because you are playing an aggro deck. So with the total number of 2-drops, we do have 8 of them. We are also playing 2 copies of Pit Rookie. You can for sure chop down on 1 Tide Turner to play a 3rd Pit Rookie. That's a very interchangeable spot because they're both not the best 2-drops on turn 1, but I think Tide Turner has slightly more like neat plays it can set up, and the fact that it's a hidden can throw your opponent for a loop as well. So we're playing 2 Pit Rookies. Obviously, it's not a 2-drop you want to start with on turn 1, but if you have to, you will, because again, you're an aggro deck. You don't want to lose tempo, but being able to buff up your units and then just again gank, take over battlefields is really nice to have. And then we have 3 copies of Sneaky Deckhand. Again, quick scoring, very similar to our MF Buccaneer. Just being able to get those points quickly can be very, very beneficial to our game plan. Now, the entire heart and soul of the deck is going to be Set Brawler, 3 copies. This is the pretty much main reason why we're playing Ride the Wind at all, okay? So, Set Brawler, what he does is, when I'm played and when I conquer, buff me. So the buff is that 1 might additional token that each unit can only have 1 of. So he also has an ability that says, spend my buff, give me +4 might this turn. So what'll happen is, let's say you're on 7 runes. You play Set Brawler, he buffs himself with his own ability. You can immediately spend that buff to make him an 8 might unit, but he's tapped. So what do? You can't go into a battlefield right away. That's where you cast Ride the Wind. You send him into a battlefield ready. He's at 8 might. You can even potentially make him stronger if you have like a Pit Rookie to combo with this and give him another buff. So now he's going to be in that battlefield active. 8 might is a huge number where you probably killed whatever's in this battlefield, and then your legend ability gives him ganking, and now he can go across the other battlefield and probably clear out whatever's in that battlefield and, you know, get you 2 points right away for the combination of 2 cards. You got to be very careful when you do this though, because this play does set you back 1 whole turn in quotations, because it does have 2 power costs altogether. But it can be a really strong and game-winning play. If you're on 6 points and you're able to get this guy strong enough, you're able to, you know, really do crazy things. The other thing I forgot to mention too is, like, when you take that first battlefield, you've now conquered, which is going to activate your Set Brawler's ability again to gain a buff, and then you can spend the buff again. So in the base, you spend the first buff to go to 8 might, and then Ride the Wind, go up here, win this battle ideally, and then get another buff, spend the buff again. Now you're at 12 might, and then you go gank over to the other battlefield. If you combine this with Back Alley Bar, that's 13 might going into the other battlefield. Really, really strong stuff you can do. Makes this somewhat similar to the Jinx deck, where that's like your win condition play, but obviously since you're in orange, you have access to other cards that Jinx doesn't. We're also playing Warwick Hunter. This guy is a haste creature, which means he enters play ready, can attack immediately, maybe score that final point immediately, so he's good just for that reason. But he also combos really well with Bullet Time, where you can deal any number of damage, which in this case with this combo you would probably only deal 1 damage to all units in the battlefield, and then Warwick can go in and kill every single unit in that battlefield. So really good combo, besides the fact that Warwick is just a good unit on his own because he enters play ready. And then for our final units of the deck, we're playing a few big ones. We have 2 copies of Mind Splitter, just a way for you to kind of like end the game. Once again, get that hand knowledge, set up the play of going in with Set and Ride the Wind when you know your opponent can't really do much about it. And for our final big unit, we are playing 2 copies of Dead Blue and Predator. Being able to take back battlefields that your opponent has control of, that you can't really get into right away, is really, really strong. It's one of the strongest cards in the Aurora decks of MF and other leaders, but this card is absolutely insane. So that is the main deck in its entirety. I would love to know in the comments below where you might suggest changes. If you guys try it out, I 100% want to know what your thoughts are. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, definitely go check out the Tacter down in the description below. With the upload of this video, I should be posting a new article today. I do post an article every single time that I post a main channel video. So go check that out. I'd love to know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.